trying, you know, they're trying real hard, but it don't always work. It don't always work. But, let me tell you something, folks. If you're one of the 500 to 1,600 people that are listening to this show on YouTube right now, on YouTube, if you're one of those people, then you, I'm telling you, I need help. I need help here. I need financing. I need to be able to get backup equipment, backup computers, because they are trying to prevent this information getting out. Now, also, I've got links up on my site to Facebook. I know Grandma don't like Facebook, but I have links to some very, very important stories. I've got links to this show right now up on Facebook, and because of that, I may have 8 people in Blog TV right now, and I may not be able to record on Blog TV right now, but I can record, and I am recording on other channels here, and we need some backing, and right now I've got a lot of things that you need to see. We talk about, I mentioned Operation Watchtower. That's included in my book, Mystery Babylon: The New World Order Unveiled. This is that book details how they tried to kill me, why they tried to kill me, because I blew the whistle on Bush's drug running operation. And who is profiting from the drug running? The banks are laundering the money. The CIA and the Mossad are the drug cartels. They were created and set up by Bush. They went down and sent the special forces down into Colombia to build a radio guide. Corporations that spring up around them, say Monsanto, say Pfizer, say any of the drug companies, the media companies, these are all controlled, and maybe, you know, I mean, we'll be actually exploring the whole thing about this being satanic or satanic a plot, because all of these companies, including Walt Disney, are you know, they've got their symbols. You know, Dodge Ram. If you look inside the logo on a Dodge Ram truck, you see the devil there. You know, it's built right into the chrome. But anyway, back to 9/11. Let me go back to 9/11, because we talked about the tungsten plated gold. We talked about that, and the gold disappeared from building number 7, didn't it? Wasn't that where the gold exchange was? Didn't a few tons of gold disappear there?
Allegedly it did, yes. I did not physically see it, you know, but it has been alleged that it did disappear. Now, I just sent you that Executive Order 12803.
13489.
No, I just sent you a new one.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right. Go ahead, I found it.
And he sold off the infrastructure, and all of this infrastructure was on people's bonds that people had allowed to be put on their homes, on their farms, and they paid taxes on this for your schools and highways and waste treatment and that kind of thing. And he sold off the infrastructure assets. And he clearly states in here, the infrastructure asset means any asset financed in whole or in part by the federal government and needed for the functioning of the economy. Examples of such assets include but are not limited to roads, tunnels, bridges, electric supply facilities, mass transit, rail transportation, airports, ports, waterways, water supply facilities, recycling, water treatment facilities, solid waste disposal facilities, housing, schools, prisons, and hospitals. So he sold it all off. And yet you're still being taxed to pay for it, and it's owned by somebody other than the federal government.
That's Executive Order 12803 of April 30th, 1992. That followed 9/11, didn't it? After they blew up 9/11. After they blew up the Twin Towers.
That's what's gone on with you kids. That's what's gone on.
Yeah, again, our founding father, Thomas Jefferson, you ever allowed the banks to issue the money, the corporations that spring up around them, and that's what we've got, really. Isn't it more of a corporatocracy, which is kind of a blend of communism and fascism?
Well, we've gone into a fascist government, that's all there is to it. And that's making it a corporate body under corporate rule, and that's what all these other countries are fighting about. And they're fighting about the corporatism, you know. And I don't know, we've got to take a look at what's been going on here, because what's been going on here is just not necessarily this is not the American way.
It hasn't been for a while. Now, you know, Grandma, I volunteered in 1964 to go to Vietnam. I was told I was going there to fight communism. But when they tried to kill me, I didn't go. They tried to kill me before I got there. And I started looking into it, and I realized in this little book called the Citizens Rule Book, we got the whole Constitution, we got the Bill of Rights, and we got the Communist Manifesto, and every plank on the Communist Manifesto is intact in America today. Today.
Oh, I know.
And been that way for 100 years, ever since we allowed the private bank. Now, when George Bush, this is more, I mean, you're talking about this executive order, and obviously he did that, and obviously that gave away all of our infrastructure. Right now, right here in Texas, they're building a toll road, and the money ain't going to America, it's going to a foreign company. We're boycotting that toll road. Most of the people that are knowledgeable won't take it, won't donate $1.50 to a foreign corporation, because that's the same highway. That's the same highway that they talked about running through Kansas City. You think we thought people were fooled into thinking they didn't do that, but they did. But the most obvious thing to me was that when Bush walked out of the office, he bailed out the banks that owned the Federal Reserve, that controlled the Federal Reserve. He gave them $2 trillion. He gave them enough money to pay off every mortgage in America. If he had given that money to Americans, and they would have paid off their mortgages, the banks would have got all their money back. Nobody would have been hurt, and Americans would be living in their homes.
They didn't want those mortgages paid off. They wanted the titles clouded on every piece of property in this country. If title searchers could not show a good, clean, clear, marketable property on any property that was involved with the Keating 5 or the farm claims or the Silverado Savings and Loan or any of the banking structures involving Union Bank, J.P. Morgan, et al., since the 1980s. Now that's just since the Contra mess. That's how this comes down. It's just as clear, you can't get a clear title on any property. All they were after was the water rights and the mineral rights. And now they just keep selling properties with clouded titles. There's no good, clean, marketable titles on any property.
Now, let me ask you about something else. You know, we got a lot of companies like Genesis. Alex Jones's channel that he's broadcasting on. They're selling gold, but if you look at history, gold was $16 an ounce when Roosevelt gave it to the banks, made you turn it into the banks. They doubled that to $32. Now it's $1,800 or something like that. And who sets the price on gold? Isn't that set and the City
well,
of London by...
The gold was priced. It was set at, it was set at $22 an ounce. And then they took it up, I think it was something like $28 an ounce. But they put it under the Great Woods Agreement. The reason why they did that, to hold it at a certain and specific price, was exactly to keep what from happening, what's happening today. That's why you had the Glass-Steagall Act. Because they had done this before, back in the 1800s. Back whenever J.P. Morgan and his crew raped the Latin American nations. Now, you know, if you want to get to the problem, you get to the Queen's Bank and you get to J.P. Morgan. You're going to get to the end of this, get right into the heart of it. The only way that you can resolve it, it's a Gordian knot. They've got it twisted up and tied up so tight that it's not, I don't think that it can be unraveled or untied, but it can be cleaned. It can be cut. It can be cut. Just like Alexander the Great had to cut the Gordian knot. And I think that that's what we're going to have to do once again, cut that Gordian knot, because it's so intricately tied that, and so many lies, and so much deception, and so much cover-up has gone on that I don't, and with the courts as corrupt as they are, and they will never give the properties back to the parties from whom it was stolen, or from whom it was misappropriated. They just keep on banking with it. They never make the property go back to where it belongs, to the owners, to the original owners. Now why, I don't know, but that's the way it's supposed to be. But it reminds me of that Nazi officer sitting there whenever they were loading all those people on the trains there in Schindler's List. And this woman says, well, you can't do this. I own my property, here is my deed. And the officer says, the laws have changed on the train. Get on the train. And that's what's going on right now. The laws have changed. Well, the laws didn't change. The laws did not change. If you go right into it and you get down to the nitty-gritty, that act of Congress called the Glass-Steagall Act is as valid today as the day it was made an act of Congress. You cannot take an act of Congress such as the Glass-Steagall Act, such as Clinton and the rest of them did, and make and nullify it for a special group to commit these frauds against the American people and the rest of the world. You can't do it. It's illegal as hell.
Grandma, let me ask you about the Durham Trust. Now, we've been on the show for a long time, and you still control that. People have moved in. They've tried to drug you. They've tried to hospitalize you. They've tried to convince the government you're dead. Is that accurate?
Oh, that's accurate. Yes, it is.
Now,
yes, it is.
You know, if you need anybody to testify on your behalf that you're alive, I'll be glad to do that, since we've been talking for about 15 years or so. But this trust, now they've manipulated it. They've gone around, and one of the problems that we have right now, and I'm talking about this, I talk about this all the time. I'm telling you folks, if you back me, I can help Grandma. I'm trying to bring you this information. I'm trying to stay on the air. I'm trying to be able to get from here to there and keep this going. We've started groups, we've started meetings, we've started a militia. We've done all of this. I've done all of this over the years, and I need some support. Grandma needs some support. Now, you're controlling trillions of dollars in this proving thing.
I can't use it because they blackballed it from the money, from the bank. Now, the only way it's going to be allowed to be used is for exactly how Russell said it was to be used, And that's for each state. Each state. Now there's no allocated amount of $2.4 billion for each state that that regains their 10th Amendment right. And that's a beginning. But the rest of them, if you take any money let the treasurers of those states take that collateral in it. They do it with the Federal Reserve. Why the hell can't they do it with the trust? Why can't they use legitimate collateral instead of bogus collateral?
Because the banks have stolen the...
You cannot use it until these states get off of their dead dusty and decide that, well, we're not going to let these people starve anymore. They've got to have jobs. We've got to rebuild the infrastructures. The floods are sweeping out across the land. And I got news for you. You wait after this winter's flood. We're going to see devastation like you've never seen before. And why will you see devastation? Because the river channels have not been dredged out into the acceptable 75 foot of navigable depth as set forth by the Coast Guard and the Navigable Rivers Act. And you're going to see where those channels have been allowed to be filled up with silt and sand, that flood is going to flood lands all over this country. It's going to destroy homes. It's going to destroy it all. Villages, towns, whatever, along those riverbanks are going to go down. Now, that's what they've scheduled for you.
Well, that's what they did in New Orleans. It wasn't the hurricane that caused all the damage. It was the federal engineers that broke the levees. They destroyed the levees. They didn't build them right in the first place. The Corps of Engineers.
They did one out there in St. Louis too in '93. They broke the levee.
And that same thing is happening in New York right now. And oh gee, we may have lost some of your stock certificates because the basement flooded.
Oh sure. And I'm still looking for the Tooth Fairy. And someone said there was an Easter Bunny, and I hear there's a Santa Claus out there somewhere trying to do a landing.
Now, again, let me just reiterate. When George Bush walked out of that revolving door in the front of the White House, he gave away and gave enough money to the banksters to pay off every mortgage in this country. He stole that money for you folks. And, that's the son of the grandson. That was the grandson of the guy that was indicted in World War II for trading with the enemy, Prescott Bush. The Bush family has been evil from the get-go, and probably 200 years, because one of George Washington's officers was Colonel George Bush. And he was listed in the Jewish Who's Who after the war. And I don't even know if Bush is their real name, which one's the original, because the Bush was also known, and Prescott Bush was, and George Bush was known as George Sheriff, who were involved with the Nazis. And it's such an evil conglomerate, and they are evil. They are evil, folks. Now, can we, now, let me ask you your opinion, and I've got this write-up. Alex Jones finally did something right. I've got his, one of his shows up on my website, because he's helped start the secession movement. Now, this ain't a rebellion. It ain't, if we just went back to our original Articles of Confederation, which gave the states the power, we'd be a hell of a lot better off than this whole corporate government type that we've got now. Your opinion about the secession movement? If at first you don't succeed, well then secede again. Tell me about your opinion on this. And you've got the ability, you've got the documentation to back these states in this revolt here. Don't? Yes, ma'am. What?
It's just, you know, it's unfortunate. Everybody thinks, oh, well, there's all that money. I want my money. Well, it's not for individual people. It's to get people, you know, there's a parable. You know, you can give a man fish to let him eat, and he becomes dependent upon you feeding him all the time, or you can give him the ability to fish for himself where he can feed himself. And that's what I think everybody must understand. We've got to get these youngsters back to work. All of us over.
Let me see here what happened to my...
I'm sorry?
Something's happened here to... where's that busy signal coming from?
I still didn't hear you.
I got a busy signal here, Grandma. Is something wrong with your phone? There we go.
Nothing wrong with my phone.
All right, there we go. We got it. We got it working now. But what about this secession movement? We've got over 100,000 signatures in Texas. We want our republic back. We want our the Texas independence movement is picking up steam here. Can we defeat them with this?
The thing about this that I have found through the years here, the last several years, is everybody wants to put out collateral. They want China to underwrite it. Well, why would you want China to underwrite it? You're just bringing the wolf to your door. And you just, I think what we've got to do is start out with a clean slate. Let these states get started. We'll put the collateral there. And the states, they will collateralize it with jobs and pledging jobs and industry. And I think that's about the best way we can do it.
What I've told people over for the last umpteen years here, that when a communist regime or fascist regime, a totalitarian regime takes over a country, they go after three classes of people in order. They go after the farmers first because they don't want you to be able to feed yourself. They go after the intelligentsia next. That's anybody like VKDurham here or Clay Douglas that's smart enough to know what the hell they're trying to pull. And third, they go after the veterans and the police officers that are might be still loyal to the old regime. And you can watch the generals like General Ham, falling, being taken aside, being fired, being removed, being set up. Everybody that might be on our side is being set up. And so we're in the final stages of this takeover, and if you want to know what life looks like, imagine, as Orwell said, imagine a foot, crushing humanity here, jackbooted thug crushing humanity, crushing the resistance. That's where we're at right now.
Well, we've got a mess on our hands. I don't know. Another problem that we have is, Americans have been so dumbed down that they don't be the low man on the totem pole anymore as far as knowing what to do. And because their education has been...
We have an answer to that. There is an answer to that, and this is one of the things that I'm trying to accomplish. This is one of the reasons I'm asking for donations. This is one of the reasons I want you to buy my books, help me sell my books, help us get this information out, help support this radio show, because you don't see any advertising on this radio show. It's because all the advertisers are scared off. They're all threatening, oh, you're not doing business with that racist, anti-Semitic, right-wing radical Clay Douglas, are you? Come on, folks. This is what they do. This is why they're doing it. They don't want you. They don't want me having the money. They don't want me getting bigger. That's why this show is one of the most blocked shows out there. And folks, you know, you've got a choice here. You can help us, or you can work for them, and you can, you know, I used to tell Grandma, I used to refer to myself as the canary in a coal mine.
You know, you are so garbled, I can't hardly understand you.
Well, they're blocking us, and it's just as well. We're out of time. VKDurham, my friend, Grandma, thank you for being with me, my dear.
Well, it's always a pleasure.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
And you came through good, and I'm sure on the recording I'll come through loud and clear. Thank you very much, Grandma.
Okay, thank you, Clay.
Bye-bye, dear.
Happy holidays.
You too. Bye-bye. You can make a donation, folks, by going to PayPal, clay@freeamerican.com. I will send you a DVD of The True Face of FEMA, or 14 constitutional scholars under American Dreamer Nightmare, or a copy of my chemtrails video, which still nothing better out there, and this one's very well made. I've got books, I've got fiction books, and I've got Mystery Babylon, which lays this all out for you. I need support. I need some funds here. If I promise you it will be put to good use. Thank you for your support. Write me, clay@freeamerican.com. Suggest guests, suggest ways we can work. Liberty Villagers can work in your neighborhood. And I'll put that back up on my websites pretty quick here. God bless you, and thank you for listening.